housing environments, thereby be getting all kinds of wonderful outcomes. And so maybe one of the times when we come back, we can actually look at the levels of income if there's some concern there. So thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Mr. Cardinale.
Hi, everybody. Before I get into the substance, I wanted to make a procedural comment and a request. I prepared a full presentation on AHA today. As you know, Ben Howard and I had actually requested them to come in, and I didn't know City Hall East would be on the agenda. I would like to speak on this item for 3.5 minutes, and I would like to speak on the City Hall East affordable housing changes for 3.5 minutes, given that these are two items on the agenda that are very important to me. And so I'd like to know if anybody on the committee would support that request. And I've only asked for this kind of an exception one other time in this entire year.
I'm willing to support it. My only request is that, are you going to give us the 2 minutes back on another meeting?
No, that's not what I'm asking.
It's been motioned that we allow Mr. Cardinale to speak for 3.5 minutes on City Hall East and on AHA. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries.
Okay, I'm very thankful. On AHA, Ms. Glover, you said that the relocations have been very successful, and I'm sure that's the case. It's, you know, since you told everybody that they had to leave, I'm sure you were very successful in forcing them all out. You said the families are doing well and we know where they are, but you brought no data, no statistics. We don't know where they are. How do you qualify that they're doing well? How many were evicted with no voucher? How many have already lost their voucher? How many got a voucher, got into a rental, but were evicted because of a foreclosure of the property owner? And I know there were several hundred, at least in 2008 when I inquired about this. So that's very concerning. The data on the Hope 6 demolitions, which occur in the 90s, showed that most of those people lost their voucher after about 1 year, and there were many people who were evicted without a voucher. Ms. Glover, I told you in the spring of 2007 that the economy would take a downturn, and you didn't listen to me. And in 2008, you, through your publicist, said that the real estate market was about to stabilize. And that was in 2008, and it still hasn't happened. On August 12th, 2010, I published an article, "Evicted High-Rise Seniors Die at Alarming Rates." I published a list of names, which I won't repeat here, but it's available on Atlanta Progressive News, of 24 seniors who died in a 2.5 period at Palmer House. That's approximately 10% of the building, and that's a conservative estimate. The list of names were never disputed by AHA, and I am certain that if one of those people were actually alive today, they would have requested a correction so fast that it would have made your head spin. Professor Deidre Oakley of Georgia State University testified before Congress that 12 seniors had died at both Palmer and Roosevelt in her study, which is a limited sample study, and that is 300% higher than Cosby Spears, which is one of the senior high-rises not affected by the demolition. AHA, in their response to this article, disparaged me personally and disparaged my publication, the Atlanta Progressive News. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Matthew Cardinale, Atlanta Progressive News. I'm kind of wondering how, if you could give me a figure, how much money in terms of taxpayer dollars has the Atlanta Housing Authority spent disparaging me? I would like to know that. AHA claimed that nobody was evicted. The seniors were not evicted. Well, I have in my house the petitions signed by the vast majority of residents at Palmer House and Hollywood Courts begging not to be evicted. I have the resolutions still in my house passed by Palmer House and Hollywood Courts asking to renovate their properties and not have it be demolished. The Georgia State University study found that only 29% of the seniors wanted to move. And I'm sure that you've heard from them a million times that 97% of them wanted to move. What is that based on? Well, I'll tell you. And Ms. Shepard, I've told the committee before, I think you were at Fort McPherson events when this was going on, but the deal was they gave them a 4-by-6-inch index card that said, would you like to receive a housing choice voucher, yes or no? And this is after they told them that they had to move. And so if they checked yes, that was interpreted as they wanted to move. Well, the question was, did they want a voucher? I'm going to just briefly wrap up. The renovation claims, they said that all these buildings were decrepit, but...
Finish your statement, Mr. Cardinale.
Okay. But the architectural reports by Praxis 3 show that that's not the case. There are only 2 things wrong with Palmer House that the architects themselves said would have cost $85,000 to fix. And AHA statistics, they said only 24 deaths at Palmer. But in a 6-year period, I went back to the president of Palmer, and she came up with 6 additional names who died in that period. So I don't believe their statistics, and neither should you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Brother Anthony Muhammad. I want to continue on what Brother Matthew Cardinale was talking about. But let me ask you, young lady, how many seconds do I have? 30. I got 30 seconds. You're starting the camera, 26. Okay, let's be clear. I'm going to make mine very clear on what I've seen here today and what I've seen over the last 6 months. Ms. Renee Glover, I go way back before you came here. When you did come here, I saw how well you were trying to get rid of the black people that was at the lower level of the echelon. As well, you talk about our senior people. The brother said, you know, he's the only man that stood up to try to let these people know about the dying of our people during that transition. And you continue to do whatever was necessary, Ms. Franklin, you want it. And I want to make this statement clear, if I may. It's always said, Brother Muhammad, come down here and talk about you black elected persons. I say I'm a slave descendant, but I am a member of the King's family, the real ones that created this earth. So if you're going to be about your DNA, listen to the cry of our people that want to speak about the little man. Matthew Cardinale, I applaud you, white man. May Allah bless you.
Thank you. We are now, is there any other questions or comments? Mr. Sams?
Some of the questions that Mr. Cardinale raised, I wanted to answer if it was important to the group. But
Please.
if not, it would be fine with us.
It's important.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Matthew said how many folk were evicted out of the more than 3,700 families. 18 of the families lost their vouchers because of behavior. No families were evicted because of rental foreclosures. The agency spent well over $500,000 supporting families who were in foreclosed houses to get them relocated and those kinds of things. He also mentioned that a disproportionate number of seniors died during the relocation process. When that came out, we studied all of the senior buildings, those that were not being, those were not Palmer Roosevelt, and the statistics were no different. Dr. Oakley, we had conversations with her, the professor at Georgia State, and she told us that her statements were taken out of context, and she explained much of that. And how much money the agency has spent on disparaging Mr. Cardinale, we haven't spent a dime. And in terms of the renovation and the residents wanted us to renovate Palmer and Roosevelt as opposed to demolishing them, it was a matter of economics. It was not feasible for us to renovate those properties because they was too small, too outdated, and all of that. And so that's why those kinds of decisions were made.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. No more public comment under this topic. Mr. Hall.
Yes. Mr. Sims, so just want to make sure we heard you clear. So Palmer House and Roosevelt House will eventually be renovated and, redeveloped as senior housing?
At this point, we don't know what will happen to the property at this point.
So you're in the planning phase?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so we need to just kind of keep talking to the neighborhood about that.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. I believe this concludes our presentations. Is that correct, Mr. Tam?
That's correct.
Then we'll move back on to old business.
Old business. We're still here. We got a couple more things before us. We actually have 2 walk-in papers that are going to be presented today. So we'll go ahead with those. Mr. Tam, please read the first one in.
Okay. The first resolution